I'd like to introduce our newest sponsor, Swim Angelfish. Swim Angelfish is an online certification program that strengthens your teaching curriculum to serve swimmers of all abilities. Swim Angelfish will prepare you and your instructors with the skills to teach swimmers with autism, physical disabilities, anxiety, sensory and motor conditions, and more. Learn to teach skills faster and with more comfort with Swim Angelfish. Apply for an Only Alpha Pool Product Scholarship and receive up to 50% off your certification. Go to swimangelfish.com today to apply. Looking to host your first swim meet or replacing an old timing system? Run a swim meet with ease from your laptop using Superior Swim Timing. You can use Superior Swim Timing with your existing equipment, or they can provide you with a complete timing solution, including deck harnesses, buttons, and starter. SST is fully compatible with Hy-Tek and Team Unify, as well as Colorado, Daktronics, and Amiga touchpads. Go to superiorswimtiming.com to learn more, and be sure to tell them I sent you. Nate's come out with another awesome tool for the swimming community. It's called Swim Nerd Live, and it allows the data and times from your actual scoreboard to be broadcast and viewed in real time on any smart TV, phone, or other device. It has all the information you're looking for: event, heat, lane, name of swimmer, times, and places. One click on any device and they're watching your swim meet live in real time. Go to swimpractice.com to learn more.
I can say, hey, I don't want to play that again.
It is being recorded. Jon Sieben, how you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good to see you, Hawkey.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you very much. It's a huge, huge honor for me.
Oh, mate, yeah, I don't get to talk swimming too much lately.
I don't know why. I mean, there's a million podcasts out there. Have people not been trying to track you down for a podcast?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm a bit hard to find. I'm a bit of a mystery man. So
You are hard to find. Very hard to find. But luckily, you've got a wife who is a little bit easier to find, and she's been amazing in setting this up for me.
Yes, no, she is very good. I've married the best.
Maria is awesome. I love it. Listen, mate, let me just start by saying this. I can't quantify the impact that you had on my life. And really, if we're being honest, I can't quantify the impact that your swim had on Australian swimming. I mean, it is one of the most remarkable swims in Australian swimming history. And for those that may not know you for whatever reason, maybe my American audience, or they're just too young to know you, you won the 200 butterfly in LA in remarkable fashion. You broke the world record from lane 6. We're going to go into it all, but like I said, I just can't quantify the impact that you had on me, mate. I must have watched your swim the last 50. I must have watched it a million times in my life. And to finally be sitting here and talking to you, like I said, it's a huge honor, because that swim itself made me believe as an Aussie that I could do anything. And that's what you gave us, mate, honestly.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, it's a great day in my life, and one I'll never ever forget. But as you know, it just doesn't happen on the day. There's a lot of stuff goes into it beforehand, leading up to it for many, many years of hard work enables you to get up there and swim a good swim. But yeah, it was, as I said, it's a day in my life I'll never forget. And yeah, I look back now, and you know, especially going back to I do attend a few sporting events occasionally and catch up with some of the older swimmers, even some of the current swimmers, and to be still sort of recognised a bit and as one of the better swims that Australia's been able to produce at the Olympics. I'm pretty proud of it. Yeah.
How come I haven't met you until now? Like, I swam for Australia from, basically 95 all the way up to 2006. And I just never saw you. Like, did you purposely pull back from swimming Australia?
Yeah, I did. I had a fantastic career. I went to 3 Olympics, and but afterwards I did sort of pull away from swimming and didn't really get involved with any media stuff. I didn't go on the professional talking circuit or anything like that, and I actually did struggle for quite a while in finding out what I wanted to do and where I was going and for the rest of my life. So I did go through some pretty hard times for quite a period of time there, and it's only sort of more been in the last sort of 15 or so years that I've been able to sort of get myself a bit more sorted out and get on the right track, so to speak.
Well, maybe we'll dig into that in a second. But first of all, I want to kind of go back and just give us an overview of where it started for you to get into swimming.
Yeah, I actually started in a little town up in North Queensland called Ingham, which is right up in far North Queensland, and then my parents moved to Innisfail, and I won my first state championships swimming for the Innisfail Red Devils. I used to get the Sunlander train down from Innisfail down to Brisbane, which would take a day and a half on a train trip down to Brisbane, and won my first state championships swimming for them. And I was a good swimmer up in North Queensland and won many medals up in North Queensland. And then at the age of 12, my parents moved out of North Queensland, and my dad got a job down in Brisbane. So we moved down to Brisbane, and I continued my swimming career as a youngster with first of all with Joe King, and I was with Joe for a few years, and he took me to national age group championships. And then at the age of 14, there was a young Laurie Lawrence coming back into coaching. He wasn't so young, but but he started his coaching career, his stage 2 of his coaching career again at Chandler. And I was 14 years of age, and I made the move over to Joe as a youngster and started swimming with the Lunatic Laurie Lawrence. And
what was the reason for the move? Because Joe's a legend himself, so why go from Joe to Laurie?
I just felt that I needed something that was probably a bit more demanding on me. Joe was, don't get me wrong, was very, very good coach, and at the peak of his powers. But I just felt I needed something a bit more harder on me, especially my training and my racing, and just needed to mature a bit. I swam the national age group championships when I was 14 in Perth, and I won over there. And then on the way back, I swam the Open Nationals in Adelaide on the way home. And after winning the age, I thought I was pretty cocky and pretty good. And I went to the Open Nationals and came stone motherless last. And I thought, oh, that's not so good. So I was obviously a very good age group swimmer, but I needed to toughen up a bit and get some mental toughness about me. So, we made the decision to move over to Laurie just to try something a bit new. I'd been with Joe for nearly 3 years, or 2.5, 3 years, and so felt I just needed a change, and moved over to Laurie. So
what was it then about Laurie that clicked for you? Did it click immediately? And what was it?
Yeah, it sure did. I remember my first time I ever met Laurie. My mum drove me to Chandler, and we walked into the pool there, and there's Laurie walking up and down the pool, barking a few orders, and I walked up to him, and my mum introduced me to Mr. Lawrence. This is my son, Johnny, wants to come and swim with you. And his first words to me said, "Son, are you hungry?" And I said, "Oh, no, I've had some lunch not so long ago. I'm okay." He said, "Not hungry for food, you idiot. Are you hungry to win?" And I thought, oh, well, I'm stepping into a different world here. And it went from there. And I knew then that Laurie was going to be, a really good coach for me and send me on to a path of excellence that I was hoping for.
Did you have training partners at the time that were kind of at your level?
Yeah, certainly did. So we had a great squad. Laurie had probably one of the elite squads going around at the time, especially at that elite level. We were training for the 82 Commonwealth Games. And as I said, I was only a young 15-year-old boy at this stage. And in that squad, there were the likes of Neil Brooks, Mike Delaney, Greg Fasala spent some time with us,
right.
Gillian Collingwood, Justin Lemberg. Probably Justin was one of the best I've seen. He was my age. There's only 8 hours separating us in birthdays, and we've been racing each other since we were about the age of 12, and we became as thick as thieves. We always roomed together on Australian tours, and he was a tough swimmer as well, and he had a lot of good what we call surf swimmers, and they were tough Ironmen that were trying to train to get fit for their Ironmen, and some really good surf swimmers, and Adam Sandbrook and Gary Watson and the likes, Barry Woodger and Dean Crocker, and a lot of surf guys that really pushed us to a certain point, and then we kept going. Michael Bowl was Tracy Wickham, just a squad of just fantastic swimmers.
Mate, you said tough about 10 times there. Was there anyone who made it through the program that was weak?
Well, I don't know. Look, Laurie was, he set a very hard example to try and achieve, and we worked in those days. It was a lot different to what is out there now. We started looking at some heart rate monitoring and things like that. There was a Bob Trefine, who we used to call Heart Rate Bob, would come down 3 times a week and have his little machines there and testing our heart rates, and so he used to come down 3 times a week, and we'd be doing a set, might be 3100s butterfly on the 130, and just trying to hold a certain pace for your heart rate. And I'd sort of reach that heart rate level after about sort of 4 or 5, and he'd say, right here, you need to hold that pace. And Laurie would be saying, no, go harder. And he hated the word of slowing down, Laurie. Everything was at full tilt, 100%. So yeah, he was a tough taskmaster, but he also knew sometimes when to back off. A couple of times he'd have get out swims, and he'd challenge the kids to do a certain thing, and it might be a 50 kick, or for me I might have to break 27 seconds for a 50 fly kick. So yeah, we'd have to try and do that, and if I did it, then we got out early. So, but if we didn't do it, we always ended up finishing. I reckon probably 80% of my sessions I finished with 40-50s butterfly.
Yeah. I did a podcast with Laurie, and he was telling me about that. Pretty much every session you'd finish with 40-50. So you just knew it was coming at the end of each workout, eh?
Sure did.
Shit. I mean, how tough is that? There's not a person alive that would be able to do that right now.
And if we were feeling good, he said, "Oh, you're looking pretty good. We'll do them jump outs."
Yeah.
At Chandler Pool.
Yeah, jump outs on 45.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. Did you have to deal with any injury at a young age?
Yeah, I did. Look, I was always trying to remedy my shoulders. Obviously, swimming butterfly, my shoulders got punished pretty badly. Had a lot of bicep tendonitis issues. There's a couple of really good physios around at the time, Dorothy Foley and Victor Popov, who sort of worked out that, I was obviously developing a lot on my front and had to do a lot of stabilization exercises and stretching and band work. Probably, early on, we were one of the first ones doing bands and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we did a lot of dry land stuff as well as being in the water. We were probably one of the first squads to really work on core strength. Like, we would do 500 sit-ups and 1,000 leg lifts every day. Every day.
Jesus, Laurie.
Not 3 times, but every day.
Oh, mate, unbelievable. Oh, it's just
our gymnasium consisted of a very small room, probably about 6 meters by 4 meters. It had one door in it with no windows, no air conditioning, and a whole bunch of metal bars that Laurie went down to the car wreckers and chopped up a bunch of car axles. Now, no one knew how much they weighed. They were all different sizes, different lengths, different thicknesses. So it was always a race to get into the gym first so you could try and pick the lightest bar. So whoever was last in the gym got the heaviest bar.
Oh, mate, that's incredible. I love it. But was Laurie planned? Like, did you know what was going to happen each day, or did you come in with just the fear of God, thinking like, what are we doing today? How's he gonna tear us apart today? Or did you kind of know what each day was kind of planned out to be?
No, well, look, Laurie certainly had a plan. He wasn't a goose. He knew we needed to work hard, and knew how to break the week down. Yes, we did 3 heart rate sessions a week. We would do some speed work on certain days. We would look, and then that had to be flexible, because depending on the sessions that you were doing, you could rock up and if you weren't feeling well, if your shoulders were bad or whatever, a bit sore or a bit tight, or you weren't. We'd always find something to work on. It might be the legs. Okay, well, let's do a hard kick set. Nothing for us to do, 15 100s kick on 120, just for some fun. I had a bit of a sore. I had hurt my wrist playing footy once, which Laurie wasn't too happy about. So he made me just doing vertical kick in the diving pool at Chandler, and I'd do that for half an hour, or equivalent of maybe 30 100s. I'd do them. I'd kick for a minute and then have a rest for 20 or 30 seconds, then kick for a minute and do that 30 or 40 times, as well as other stuff. And then he said, "Oh, you're doing that pretty too easy." So he started giving me metal bars to hold up. so yeah, it was always there was a plan to what we were doing. It wasn't just get in there and swim aimlessly, and anyone can get an athlete fit. It doesn't take a genius to get someone fit. Just get them to swim miles and miles and miles, and you'll eventually get fit. The trick is being able to swim fast as well, being fit and being able to swim fast. And then the really good ones can actually get you to swim fast on the day you have to. That's the real science, and the good coaches know. And the really, really good coaches know how to continue that over several days. I mean, how Phelps kept doing it was that's phenomenal.
So in the lead up to 84, I was watching a video earlier where it said the year before you were 25th in the world in the 200 butterfly. So obviously a lot of things clicked the year of the Olympics. You probably grew a little bit. You're hitting your peak fitness. Things with Laurie are clicking. So did you have a sense in the lead up to the 84 trials that you were going to make this team?
Yeah, I certainly did. Look, 1982, I'd made the Commonwealth Games team when I was 15. I was 16 when I actually swam at those Commonwealth Games in Brisbane. I finished third and went 201, and it was actually a poor swim for me. I probably could have gone 200 at the age of 16. And then, so then for the next 2 years, that's all Laurie and I worked on. I said, righty, I got 2 years to really knuckle down and try and win at the Olympics. So everything was geared towards, getting fit and racing hard at the Olympics. When I turned up to the trials for those 84 Olympics, I was swimming really, really well. And I won the trials fairly easily. I remember turning with 50 to go and had a bit of a look around. I could see I was in front. I was pretty cruisy. And I probably could have easily gone maybe a 158 or 159 at our trials, but I didn't need to. I just sort of went, swam through, and I think I went 200 or 201 or something and won. But yeah, I guess that would have announced me a little bit more if I'd have gone, that quick leading into the Olympics. So it was a bit of a misnomer that, I'd improved so much in such a short period of time. I was already there at that level, thereabouts, and I didn't rest too much. I don't think I even shaved down at our trials. So, I was pretty confident where I was at.
Yeah, I was going to say you must have been pretty confident, and it would seem as though Laurie, at that stage probably wouldn't have rested you that much to get on that team. And it's a really smart thing, and I think that's the thing that, like you talked about, that separates really good coaches is they're not preparing you to be an Olympian. They're preparing you to be an Olympic medalist. That's the difference between the great coaches, right? So Laurie saw it as a stepping stone, like, hey, we're qualifying. and we're going to the Olympics to get on the podium. You know, that's the big difference.
That's correct. And look, and that showed through even after my heat swim. Laurie was so pissed off after my heat swim. You know, because I swam, you know, I swam my best time at that point in time. I went 1:59 when I got, and Pablo just touched me out in the second last heat. And I remember turning with 50 to go, and I was actually in front. And I heard, one of the very few times that I've actually heard the crowd in swimming, because in LA, being an outdoor pool, it was just fantastic. But there was massive crowds and these massive big stands, and it was just really, really awe-inspiring to swim in something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I heard the crowd every time I took a breath. I said, "Oh, Pablo must be catching me," and he sort of caught me with 25 meters to go, and we swam in the water together, and he just touched me out. We both went 1:59, which was the first and second fastest times with only one more heat to go. So I pretty well knew I was going to make the final. And then I watched the last final, and Pablo and Rafael Vidal and Michael Gross went faster. So I was into lane 6, which I was pretty happy with. And then I walk over to the warm down pool, and Laurie is absolutely berating me. He's given me the hardest time. Saying, "What happened to you? Why did you slow down? We've been training for 4 years, and da-da-da-da-da. Why did you let Pablo go past you?" And da-da-da. And I'm just smiling and grinning, and he's going, "What are you so happy about? I know it was your best time, but you should have done better." And da-da-da. I said, "Laurie, I was going easy. I can go a lot faster tonight." So then he's gone, "You beauty. We're going to do this later." I said, "Laurie, sit down, shut up, and tell no one." So, yeah, no, I knew I was going to swim fast that night. I just didn't know how fast. I knew, you know, I was there. I was swimming really, really well.
Yeah, but I understand you're also a student of the sport, and so you knew your competition going into this games. You knew who Mikhail Gross was. You knew the size of this man. You knew probably Pablo Morales and the talent that he had.
Yeah.
So you knew your competitors. So, look, the first time I walked into the ready room at the Olympic Games in 2000, it's different, right? Like you've heard of these people, but now they're in the same room as you, and it's just different. Like all the training that you've done can still go out the window in that circumstance, because all of a sudden you're faced with Mikhail Gross, who's 6'7". How tall are you?
At that time I was about 5'10".
5'10", right? So, and here's this guy that's towering over you. I've seen pictures of it. Yeah. He's a monster. So you walk into a room for the first time and see this man. And then you hear the crowd, like you said, which takes your breath away. So how did all this stuff not overwhelm you?
Yeah, look, it's something for your first time you can never prepare yourself for. You try and look. As you said, I'm probably a little bit different to maybe some guys out there that raced. I loved racing. Don't get me wrong. I had to train, but I didn't love training, but I had to train as hard as I possibly could, so that I could race as hard as I could. I loved racing. There's nothing better than standing behind the blocks with the best athletes in the world and racing them. You're right. I did study my opposition. I did understand how they swam their races, and I devised a race strategy that would, that would enable me to, to beat them. So that race strategy was always to finish stronger than they did. I didn't have the early speed that those guys did. So my race strategy was always that back end speed. In order to do that, I had to be fitter than anybody else in the race. In order to be able to swim 29 seconds at the last lap of a 200 butterfly and still go 1:57, it takes a lot of fitness. And that's what I worked on. I was always working on, because I knew Gross would come home at about a 32. So 31, 32, that's how his splits always worked out. And so I knew I had to come home in 29 to beat him, and that was always what I was working towards. So you're right. In the marshalling room was you can never prepare yourself for what happens in there,
right? And
you do. There are your local meets that you go to, but when you go to the Olympics and you've only got the 8 finalists with no coaches, no officials, no one else, and you're there for 15, 20 minutes. And Gross he can be very intimidating. He doesn't say anything, but he stands there and he stretches his arms and and look, you know, basically says, look at me, I'm the best. And he was, you know, look, fantastic swimmer, absolutely legend of our sport, you know. And, you know, he's very imposing. You've just got to take that out of your mind and just say, no, I've worked harder than you. I've done things in training you haven't done. And I'm gonna win. You might be 6'7", but you'll put your pants on one leg at a time, same as I do. So you can be beat.
Man, you might be a legend, but I did hear that every time he stood up next to you on the blocks, you beat him every time. Isn't that right?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. We raced many times. Even in 4 years later, I only got to swim the 100 butterfly in '88. But yeah, I finished fourth. He finished fifth. So.
And he must have hated you. He must have been looking at you like, this little shit going to beat me again.
Yeah. Look, one of my favourite swims I ever did was at World Uni Games in Kobe in Japan in 1985, and I raced both Gross and Matt Biondi in the 100 butterfly. And Gross is 6'7" and Biondi who's 6'6", and I was able to beat them both in the 100 butterfly and win the gold. And on the dice, I'm the shortest bloke, even though I'm on the number one dice. It's
unbelievable. I've seen photos of you next to these guys. I mean, they're towering over, not just height wise. I mean, their length. And you're talking about butterfly, and you need length in butterfly. These guys had it in spades over you. So, Laurie always he's got this famous saying, you know, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the what's the saying?
Fight. Yeah, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that kind of comes from you, right?
Down to that. Yeah, that comes down to that ability to race, and you know, not succumbing to the theory that nobody can be is everybody's unbeatable. I mean, if you want to put in the hard work and you want to drive and just believe in yourself, you've got to believe in yourself first of all. But then you have to base that belief on something. Anybody can go out and say they're going to go do something, but if you don't do something about it to base that belief on, it's really, really hard. You know, every time I stood behind the blocks, I believed I could win, and I had to base that belief on something, and it was generally through my hard work. I knew I had a really, really strong kick. My kick was probably the strongest part of my swimming. Yeah, you're right. I didn't have the wingspan, but I had the drive with the legs that probably none of them had.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It must have been. How did you know the training itself? Like, we didn't have the internet, or you didn't have the internet back then in terms of the sharing that we have now. You kind of know what people are doing these days. Back then it was kind of like a guess. Like, I don't know what that person's doing. How did you know confidently that what you did when you looked to the left and right, like Laurie says, that those guys did not work as hard as you that day?
You don't know 100% that's true, but you just know in yourself.
Right.
And you just know, look, as I said, and you like Laurie used to go around, he'd talk to other coaches and he'd be saying, oh, well, look, these are the sort of sets that John would do. And some of the coaches would say, geez, I've never heard of anybody doing that. Yeah. You know, things like, you know, I do 4100s and I'd swim an easy freestyle down and do a sprint butterfly back. And, you know, and I'd average about, 27. I think the best, I did it about half a dozen times as I was preparing for the Olympics, and each time I got better and better and better. But they're only on the 130, so you can average 27 for maybe the first 10 is pretty easy. The next 10 gets a bit harder, but then when you get past 20 and you're still swimming 27 seconds for a 50 fly, you're swimming pretty fast and you're pretty fit. So and sort of sets like that. Laurie used to talk to a few of the coaches around, and they'd be going. They're pretty impressed with it. So you knew you were doing some special stuff. But
when you're holding, how did you manage to find competition? Because there's no one that can hang with you in practice. So from what I understand, Laurie would put slower kids to go before you, and you kind of chase them down. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. A lot of times, you might have someone leave, 5, 10, 15 seconds in front of you, and you have to mow them down. Basically, just get around them. Some of these little kids that he put there in front of us, they didn't want to be passed either. So it was tough sometimes. It was really, really tough. Yeah, but
What was the
it was
tape
a
on
lot of
like?
fun.
How did he rest you for the two fly in '84?
Taper. No, I must admit, I sort of, I was forced to do a taper before '84 because I did get sick. Before we went into LA, we had a training camp in Sydney, and I was swimming pretty well. I was training well there, and then about 3 days beforehand, I got a bit of a cold, a bit of a flu, and then international flight over. We landed into San Francisco and had a training camp at Stanford Uni there. And for that whole week or 10 days we were there, I was swimming really poorly because I was ill, trying to get over, everything. And so I was swimming, not swimming many Ks. I was going backwards and swam the Santa Clara meet, I think it was. And I think Pablo and Anthony Moss beat me pretty badly. And everyone's sort of going, oh, you're going pretty bad, John. So I don't think too many people wanted to know me. And I sort of left over to my own devices just to try and recover and get better. And then we flew down to LA about a week before the Olympics started. And our first training session actually wasn't in the main Olympic pool. We went to the old Coliseum pool from the 1932 Olympics. And I dove in there and I felt unreal. I just felt everything clicked, everything. I just felt on top of the water. I could push off and go a 50 fly in any time I wanted to, at any pace I wanted to. And I could hold it for as long as I wanted. Just felt really good in the water, sitting high, all those things. And all of a sudden, Laurie must have timed me when he came running over and said, do you know what you were just doing? And I said, yeah, I know, Laurie. He says, that's looking good. That's looking good. So, so that was part of it all. I mean, that was, I guess, a bit luck on my part. I did get ill and had to rest. And it's probably what my body needed, after many years of hard work. It needed that amount of time to rest and get ready to race.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like generally when you get sick, Grant Hackett used to train harder than any man I'd ever seen before, and he used to get sick a lot in taper, and it kind of actually helped him. I think like he'd get sick, have to have a couple of days off. He'd lay in bed and he'd come back and he'd feel incredible, kind of like what you're talking about, and start to bust out these crazy times. So I think people that just work themselves into the ground like that, when that shift in taper happens, that sickness kicks in a little bit.
Yeah,
you kind of need that reset, that rest. But mate, I know that feeling. I didn't feel it a lot, but I know the feeling when you hit the water. Sometimes you're like, oh, I feel incredible. No one's going to touch me in this meet. So it's a really nice feeling to have for sure. But let's talk about the race itself then, because I want to kind of go over it. They said some interesting things of you standing behind the blocks. They said Jon Sieben, 17-year-old, bit of an outsider, so they didn't really give you a lot of credit. There was a lot of talk, obviously, with Pablo was in lane 3 and Gross was in lane 4. Gross was the world record holder. And he'd already broken 2 world records at that games in '84 before the 200 butterfly. So he'd had a pretty good games already. But then they said something interesting about you. They said don't count out any Australian from medal contention in these games. What was it about the Aussies back then where it was kind of like the rest of the world knew that they were going to have a fight?
Yeah, we really had. It was a great team we had. It was one of the first teams which went away, and we were all united in swimming well, and we were winning medals, and especially some younger guys, Robbie Woodhouse, Justin Lemberg, both we're all the same age, 17 going on 18, won Olympic bronze medals. Shelley Pearson swam great, bronze medal. Sue Landell, silver medal. Glenn Berringen, silver medal. So we were doing these great performances and swimming really, really well. The men's mean machine were silver medalists. Mark Stockwell, silver medalists. So as a team, we were performing really, really, really well. 200 butterfly was on the second last day. So, as I said, the work, everyone could see on the pool deck that the Australian team was doing something right, and we were on the improve. We just hadn't had that breakthrough and that gold medal performance. But many believe that Stocky should have won the 100 freestyle, but it didn't happen. So, you know, we came through and had some fantastic performances. And I think that's where that comment probably came from. We were, as a team, performing really, really well. So, yeah, standing behind the blocks. And look, I did let a few sneaky people know that I was swimming fast. And after the heats, they could see that I was going pretty easy, and I was just cruising along. And so I think they knew that I was going to swim fast. A couple of guys in the team knew that, so they weren't quite sure how fast. But yeah, I was pretty confident of, you know, I knew I was going to win a medal. That wasn't in doubt. It was just a matter of what colour it was going to be, and I was hoping my strategy was going to be good enough to win it.
Yeah, mate, if you had have told me your strategy before the race, I probably would have tried to talk you out of it. I mean, I was looking at the video, I had you at about 1.5 body lengths behind at the 100, and I had you at a full 2 body lengths behind at the 150. I mean, that's probably a little too much room to give the current world record holder 2 body lengths. And these are 2 of his body lengths, by the way. He's 6'7". So, I mean, you had given him plenty of room. I was watching that into the last wall and thinking to myself, there's no, I know the outcome of this race. There's no way he catches him, you know, but I still knew. But it's just like, did you feel at that stage, were you thinking anything at that stage, kind of leading into the 150 wall?
No, look, obviously when I see the video of replay now, I didn't realize I was that far behind. I didn't, that wasn't always a strategy. A lot of it is on feel. And when you're swimming, I wasn't a very much a time person. I didn't really think, okay, I'm going to swim, you know, this time, that time, or whatever. I was very much a racer and a feeler, and I knew where Rafael Vidal was in lane 5 beside me. I was just monitoring him because I knew he'd be there or thereabouts. And when I turned, I probably got a really good turn for me on that 3rd wall, because I built into that 3rd 50 feeling really, really strong. And I said, right, this is me now. With about 10 metres into the wall, and off the wall, that's when I knew I needed to make some ground up. So I got a really, really good turn off that 3rd turn. I knew I was catching Rafael Vidal beside me. And as I went past him with probably about 30 metres to go, I thought, do I have a look and see how I'm going? And as you know, the cardinal sin in swimming is you don't look. You're aware of the people either side of you in the lanes, but you know you don't really go and have a look to see how you're going. So
unless you're a Chad Leclos.
Yeah. Well, he does breathe to one side. He can check out everybody on his left. But yeah, but I thought, you know, and it's amazing how many things flash through your brain in split seconds. And you know, you think about, do I have a look? Do I have a look? And said, no, I don't want to have a look and see I'm in front. I go, oh, what do I do now? And I thought, if I have a look and see I'm way behind, I'm going to go, oh, I've blown this. What a bugger. So all I thought about then was getting on the wall in a full stroke. So, and in butterfly, as you know, when you're swimming strong and you're feeling well, you can generally judge where you are on the wall with about 15 metres to go. You can know whether you're going to finish on a full stroke or if you can adjust your stroke a little bit leading into it so that you do get that full stroke finish. And that's really, really hard to do when the grand piano is sitting on your back and you're just trying to get onto the wall any way you can. But because I was feeling really, really strong, I could do that. And I just adjusted just a tiny little bit, probably with about 15 to go, to make sure that I finished on that full stroke because, I was just feeling really, really good and just knew I was powering home. I really just concentrated on getting on that wall.
Yeah, at the end of a really good horse race in the straight, mate, they take the whip out and start whipping him, and the horses kind of accelerate. And that's kind of what it looked like with you. It looked like Laurie was on your back, and he was just whipping you, and you were just taken off. But there's also a feeling, and there's a sense in swimming too, and we know this as swimmers, and I think, if you're in the lead of a race and there's someone pulling up behind you, you can feel them no matter what. And if you're that person back there, you can feel yourself pulling in on someone. So whether you looked or not, I bet you had a sense that you were pulling these guys back for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. I didn't specifically look, but I knew I was coming home over the top of them, and I didn't know I'd won, but I knew I was going to touch the wall in front or with them, and I knew it was going to be close. But yeah, you're right. I didn't specifically look, but I knew I had them in my sights, and they were. It was going to be close. Touched the wall, and then by the time I lifted my head up, I saw there was, one or two of us on the wall, mainly me and Grace, and then I knew, yep, I'm there. And then I had to turn around and see the scoreboard at the other end of the pool, and all I saw was this one flashing beside my name, which meant I'd won. And so yeah, it was just a fantastic feeling, and just so many emotions just flowed through your body. And and I thought about everybody that had helped me get there, and my mum, my dad, Laurie, all my teammates that I'd swum with, and everything, everybody that had helped me get to that level, all my coaches I'd had throughout my career. And so it's just that great feeling of knowing that everything you'd worked for you'd have been able to accomplish.
Maybe in practices for me as a coach, I would always try and get my athletes to practice the feeling of winning and celebrating. I don't think I've ever seen a celebration as good as yours, mate. You're rolling all over the lane line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the greatest celebrations in Olympic history. It gets me choked up every time I see it, because it's just like you said, it's pure emotion coming out of you. And I think it's just like you're just overcome with like, what the hell did I just do then? It was incredible, wasn't it?
It's funny, you mentally rehearse. I mentally rehearsed everything about the race, about how I was going to swim it and I was going to win it and finish it. But one thing you never mentally rehearse is, how am I going to celebrate? That's not something I ever did. So that was just pure off the cuff. I didn't know what to do. So.
Yeah, it was brilliant, mate. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like I said, it inspired me as a young kid. I wasn't much younger than you, but I was younger than you. And it inspired me greatly. I mean, that win, that the last 10 meters and then that celebration on the lane line has stuck with me my whole life, mate. It's made such a huge impact on me. You have no idea. I mean, and I'm trying to express it, and I can't even express it. Like, the amount of times that I've watched that last 10 meters, and the amount of times I've watched that celebration, and the you want to be that person. Like, I've wanted to be you all my life as a swimmer. I wanted that feeling. I wanted to be that guy who came over the top and shocked the world and celebrated like that. And the fact that you're an Aussie, mate, it just made me so proud, So I made it, like, I can't even express how big of an impact it had on me, mate.
Well, thank you, Brett. Look, I hope that, that through your passion, obviously, you have for swimming, and you can get other kids, other athletes to do it as well. And that's the thing about it. I'm an old guy now, and I want to see other young kids get out there and achieve their dreams and achieve their goals. And if I can help in any way, or a part of it, in whether it's only 1% or 2% or whatever it is, I'd love seeing kids, and especially young kids, getting up there and having a go and achieving their goals, and their dreams. And, I always say everyone has their own Olympics in life. It may not necessarily be swimming 200 butterfly. For me, it was, but it could be just being, and I say the Olympics is about you being the best person you can be. It's about getting out there every day and giving it everything, and leaving no stone unturned in becoming a better person. That may mean being a better teacher, better father, better mother, better doctor, better mechanic. It's about you being the best you can be. That's what the Olympics is to me. I was able to do it on that particular day in the 200 butterfly, and I try and treat every day as me becoming a better person. And we all try and do that, I think.
I don't know how to address this or just attack it, but look, you don't beat a guy like him. Or a field like that, let's say, the talent that they had and the training that they had done, a 5'9", 5'10" guy doesn't beat those guys unless they have done some crazy work, right? Crazy work. So did that work that you did that have a negative effect on your life? Like, how did it? I mean, it's hard to address, right?
Yeah, look, it is. Look, it's not for everybody, and that's why they don't give Olympic gold medals out to everybody. you know, some people in Laurie's programs couldn't handle the hard work and you know, obviously didn't stay with Laurie and couldn't cope with it. But that's not to say Laurie was a bad coach. That was his method of coaching, and that's
Sure. Yeah.
and it worked for me. It really did. We clicked. Whether I would have won an Olympic gold medal staying with Joe King, I don't know. I certainly believe I would have gone to the Olympics. Whether I've been an Olympic gold medalist, maybe a different kettle of fish.
Right.
So sometimes I think there's also a little bit of an element of luck. Sometimes it happens, and I got lucky that I joined forces with Laurie at the right time for me, and it worked for me. But you know, you're right. The hard work was his method, and it worked for me. It doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Some people need a little bit more. Cajoling's not the right word, but they need a bit more finesse, I guess, in their training techniques. And you know, certainly you look at what's happening now. The guys now, what they're doing in training is completely different to what I did. You know, their training speed is phenomenal. They're on world record paces in training. You know, doing and just swimming a lot faster in training than what we did. Obviously swimming a lot less Ks, but they're doing it at a lot better. Sports science has enabled them to do that and some of the stuff. But yeah, it was a different era back then, and you know, I often say, look, I wouldn't change anything. I swim in a great era. We trained hard, we raced hard, and we played hard, and it was good fun.
Yeah, I do remember stories of that era, of all that, for sure.
We were lucky there was no social media back those days.
I've heard them all, mate. You guys did. It was awesome. Yeah, I mean, the work that you did is just incredible. You just can't coach athletes like that these days, and athletes are dealing with. There seems to be a lot more mental health awareness. Was that something that was even considered or talked about back in the day?
No, really not. No, not in the 80s. It was very, very seldom even talked about. Nobody even knew what depression or anxiety or any of these things were. You know, it was all just, go, go, go. Those sort of things are just, really have only become more prevalent lately. And as we learn more, and that's what it is. It's a learning, it's an education that we're finding out about, these sort of things. But yeah, look, there obviously were situations and cases of that back then. It hasn't just all of a sudden reared its head, but we just didn't know about it. And, we just weren't educated enough about it to know about it.
How do you think then we balance it? How do we get an athlete who can feel safe and secure, but also do the work necessary to be a champion?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? How and the good coaches know they seem to have the formula. They can recognize, and that's part of being a very good coach. Now you have to recognize signs and that are there by the athletes that they are struggling with something, and they need to act on that and not ignore it. And they need to, and if they have the ability, or they need to find somebody that can help them and has the ability to be able to help them through the situation. So I think nowadays, yes, it's important that coaches are aware of it. They can recognize the signs. They're educated enough to understand what is happening and can see the signs and not just automatically think that, you're not tough enough or whatever. It's, sometimes there are genuine issues going on. The good coaches will ask the question. They should be asking questions. What's going on, in your life? And Laurie, as tough as he was, out of the pool, we were a great team. We would socially do things together. We'd go water skiing together. We'd go surfing together. We'd go out to the movies. We'd have dinners together, even as a squad.
Right.
So it wasn't just, the 8 hours we did in the pool each day. And there was also, a lot of social activities as well. And and I think sometimes you can see when people are out of their training environment and you see them in a social environment, you can see different aspects of people, I think, sometimes, and you can sometimes pick up on things that maybe not be quite right.
Right. So why is it then that you push back from swimming so hard? We kind of talked about this earlier. You kind of withdrew from swimming a little bit. Did you just struggle with your identity at that? Who am I?
I did.
Kind of?
Yeah, I did. And look, it was really, really hard because I had these great skills from swimming, and the work ethic and hard work and dedication and whatever. Obviously, spending all that amount of time, I didn't have a formal degree from university to go into a profession. I didn't even know what profession I wanted to be in. I thought, and I did lots of different things. I was a builder's labourer for a while, and I did all sorts of things just to try and make some money. But I always struggled to know, how do I apply what I've learnt in my swimming and sporting career into real life. And once you stop swimming, there's no, back in those days, there wasn't the programs I think that are available now that you can sit down and talk to somebody and say, hey, what do I do now? Where do I go? And yeah, I struggled with that. I struggled understanding where I sat in the world and what I was going to do. And it was a bit of a struggle for a while there. Luckily, I found a really, really good girl, and
you did
sorted me out.
You did, yeah.
And we got married.
It's been great ever since. You ended up meeting her in a water polo pool. Is that right?
Yes, up in Darwin, in Northern Territory of Australia, and I was spending some time up there, and I was playing mixed water polo, and we met in a water polo pool, and it sort of happened.
That's awesome, mate. I love it. So I guess back, if you were to win a gold medal now in the 200 butterfly and break the world record, you're almost instantly a millionaire. Back in '84, that really wasn't the case, I guess, hey?
No, certainly not. No, look, I was fortunate enough to get a little bit of money through some sponsorship that enabled me to continue swimming. I was still living at home with my mum and dad. We still had bills to pay, and I was eating mum out of house and home the amount I was eating. Unfortunately, I didn't stop doing that after I was swimming. So, but yeah, look, and I wasn't part of any programs that if I wanted to travel overseas internationally to compete at something like a Canada Cup or whatever, that an Australian team wasn't going to. I had to pay my own way. So obviously, when you're on the Australian team at major competitions, Pan Pacs and Com Games and things like that, yes, you're all looked after. But there was a couple of times we travelled. I wasn't part of the Institute of Sport back then. I was, because I wanted to train with Laurie, and a couple of times we went over and raced at Canada Cup meets, and we'd tag along with the Institute of Sport team because they were sending their swimmers over there, but we'd pay our own way. And so all those things, they cost money. And but yeah, that's what it. So yeah, no, I certainly didn't get rich out of swimming per se, but I think I got a lot more out of life.
Yeah. Now you have kids now?
Yes. Yep.
Do they know Dad was an Olympic champion, and have they watched the race?
They do. They don't watch it too often. I try not to show them too often. But
I just have that on repeat as they come in the door every day.
No. They're swimming at the moment. They're enjoying it. They're 9 and 10 and enjoying their swimming. They only swim 3 times a week and enjoying it. They're also playing a bit of basketball and play a bit of touch footy, and so doing a bit of everything. So we'll see where they go. I mean, they're both very sporty minded, I guess is the best way to say it. They're talented in their own right.
Now, how did you get involved in Australian water polo?
Yeah, that came about, as I said, up in Darwin. I got involved with Australian country water polo, and a very good friend of mine, John Fox, who played for Australia for many, many years and eventually became the national head coach. He convinced me to start getting involved with teams and taking teams away. And my first team I took away Australian University Games team over to Izmir, Turkey. And while I was over there, I then toured around Europe a little bit and spent some time in Italy and in Florence or Firenze with a water polo team there, Gianni De Magistris team. And so we just used to go down to training. I'd watch how they train and do things. And then I got a call from the 2007 organising committee to see if I'd like to be involved with the 2007 World Champs, and went through an interview process and became the competition manager for the 2007 World Champs for water polo.
Wow.
And so flew back and ran that for FINA, and that was an interesting exercise to see the dynamics of FINA at its best, and the TWPC and how it works. And it was really interesting, and it was a fantastic experience to be part of that and organising that World Champs, and continued on taking teams away. And I was fortunate enough to take a uni games team away to Belgrade, and where the men's team, we actually won the gold medal, and it was a fantastic experience. We're in Serbia, and we beat Serbia in the semi-final, and then went on to beat Croatia in the final.
Wow.
One of the men's, so it was just a great feeling to, that was 2007 over there, and that was really, really good. Then I sort of was in Melbourne at the time, and we came up here to run our own business and start running swimming pools. So I sort of dropped out of water polo for a period of time. I was trying to build up a learn to swim business and a swimming pool business up here, and for a few years. And only a couple of years ago, Foxy got in touch with me again and asked me to get involved with the current junior teams. And I'm currently working with a couple of teams, the Born 202s and the Born 204s. 2004s and 2002 teams. Preparing them for their upcoming World Champs.
Awesome. That's great stuff, mate. That's fulfilling too, to be able to give back in a way, right? It feels good. Like I'm a coach too, and it just feels good to give back to the next generation of up and comers. It's very fulfilling.
It does, yeah, it really is. And look, I understand water polo. I know how it's played, but I also know what it takes to win and sort of where you need to be at and the things that you need to do. So I talk to Foxy obviously has the more technical side of things of the game, but I talk to them about attitudes and approaches and what you need to do with training and preparing yourself and things like that, and fitness levels you need to be at. I think we make a pretty good combination, with the young boys and trying to mould them and understanding, what levels you need to be at and where you need to be at, both physically and mentally, fitness-wise, and also with your skills, where you need to be at. So I think, it works well for us. Good
stuff, mate. Couple last things.
Yep.
What kind? Did you know Duncan Armstrong was going to do what he did from lane 6 in '88? Did you see that coming?
I did, yeah. Having trained with Duncan leading up to those games in '88, I seen the work that he put in, and I knew he was there or thereabouts. I knew he was going to do a great swim. I just wasn't sure how good. You never know these things. Why you can be extremely confident, and you should be obviously standing behind the blocks, but you just never quite know. You believe in yourself and you believe in the work you've done, and you know you can do it. But I knew Duncan was ready to race well. I knew he'd put in the work, and I knew he was swimming fast. So I could see it coming. The gold medal was just a great bonus. I knew he was going to get a medal. I just wasn't sure what color it was going to be, but it was a great swim. I remember walking past, and I knew where the marshalling room was, and there was sort of a door there, and I walked past, and I just opened the door, and I just said, "Oh, good luck, Dunk." And both Gross and Biondi looked at me, and then they've looked at Duncan.
I just stuck it in their heads. There you go. And they're like, "Shit, not another one."
Maybe, I don't know. You never know these things. I don't know.
Mate, what's the last thing Laurie Lawrence says to his swimmers, or to you? What was the last thing he said to you before you went out and did that phenomenal swim?
Yeah, I had to sort of calm him down a bit, and I just said, Laurie, look, it's all right. I'm in control here. I think we've got a good race plan. But he was, he obviously, he did calm down a bit, and after getting a bit carried away after my heat swim. But so leading into it, he was pretty good. He said, we've worked hard, and we just went through and reiterated the work that we'd done, and we'd prepared, and we couldn't be in any better shape. We couldn't be feeling any better. And everything was all the stars were aligned for us to do a great swim. You've just got to go out there now and do it. And that's what it was. It wasn't, there wasn't any, fantastic inspirational words, but just the fact that, we'd done the work, we're ready to race, just need to go out and execute it now.
I love it, mate. This has been awesome. I really appreciate this. This has been so cool for me. Probably got a million questions that I want to ask after we get off, but just the fact that you spent some time talking to me, mate, I'm very humbled.
That's all right. I don't mind speaking to the bloke who went to the second best uni in Alabama, so that's all right.
Yeah, tell me, how did you end up at Alabama? How did you get there?
Mate, it was actually with Justin, as I talked about Justin Lemberg earlier, a really good mate of mine. We both signed to go to Alabama before the '84 Olympics, and one of the main reasons was Don Gamble. He was the head coach at Alabama. He was the US Olympic head coach, and he was also a good mate of Laurie's. And so Laurie rang Don and said, "I've got these two young blokes. They're pretty good swimmers," and so Don sort of saw that we were okay, but obviously we hadn't swum at the Olympics at this point in time, and we'd already signed.
Nice pickup for them.
So Don all of a sudden thought, how good is this? He signed an Olympic gold medalist, Olympic bronze medalist. Sight unseen. We hadn't even gone over on a recruiting trip or anything. So,
wow.
So we both decided to go to Alabama beforehand, and it was just great to get over there. I really wanted to swim the NC2As and race the collegiate system and just see how that worked. And I knew it would be good for me to improve my starts, my turns, all those little things, because Pablo was just excellent at it, and he just killed me every time on a turn.
Yeah.
He was just phenomenal. His underwater work, and something I really worked on when I was over there. And unfortunately, he just got me in the 200-yard fly at NC2As. I finished second there and third in the 100. But it was just a great experience. I loved it. Loved the 12 months I had there. Would have loved to have done more, but I needed to come back and train with Laurie in preparation for '88. And then unfortunately I got sick. I had glandular fever and a few other things. But yeah, it was I know the guys have a reunion every year, and I'd love to get back over there and see some of the old guys, Jens Peter Berndt and Frank Yarkino, Mike Davidson, all those guys that we swam with. It was a great team that Alabama had, and I'd love to get back there they have a reunion each year, and I keep promising to go over there. And I was actually going to go over last year because I got inducted into the Swimming Hall of Fame, and I was going to make a bit of a trip of it and take the family to Alabama and visit. But unfortunately, obviously with COVID, we didn't get inducted last year, and we were going to try and do it then again this year, but it's going to be even difficult. I think our ban is still in place traveling to America, so
yeah,
who knows when I'll get over there. But we'll take the family over and take them to Alabama and hopefully get to a football game. And looking forward to getting back over there.
Well, mate, the greatest swimmer in the state of Alabama's history is actually on my wall. He swam at Auburn University. That's Rowdy Gaines, if you don't know him. He swam.
There's a bloke called Johnny Skinner before him at Alabama.
Johnny's pretty good too. Actually, my old roommate at Auburn University, we lived together. He's actually now the associate head coach at Alabama. His name is Ozzie Quevedo. So I know the associate head coach out there, and
cool.
Good man. And a lot of history. No, look, listen, great programs. Both of them had fierce battles. But I didn't know you'd spent just a year there. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, as I said, it was a great year. I think my name's still up on the wall somewhere over there. So
should be
pretty happy about that. So yeah, no, it was, as I said, it was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed my time there. Yeah, so yeah, no, it was good.
I love it, mate. Well, thanks for doing this. Please thank your wife for pinning you down and forcing you to do this for me. And it's been a huge honor, and I've loved it, mate. Hopefully we can do it again sometime in person, all right?
No worries, Brett. Always good, mate.
See you, Jono. Take care, mate.
Mate. Bye.
Bye.